Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome. It's a chilly day, but it is warm in here with all of our hearts together. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Gainesville Tuesday meeting at the Cade Museum Garage. Please silence your phones and remember to bring your trash to the trash cans after the meeting. I'm Eric Atrian. I'm happy to introduce our good friend, Mr. Pete Enwall, for the song and the Pledge of Allegiance.
So before we meet again, we will have Groundhog Day on Monday. And so how many people have seen the movie, the Groundhog Day movie? Okay, good. This will make sense then. I was trying to figure out a joke to tell today, a Groundhog Day joke. And I heard this guy tell the joke, and it was really good. So I thought maybe I'd use it. But he kept telling the same joke over and over and over again. Okay, so we're going to sing God Bless America today, and it's going to be, that was it. It's going to have to be Acapulco because we have technical difficulties with the keyboard, so we can't have the normal music that we enjoy. So God Bless America, ready? God bless America, land that I love, stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. All right. We join me in pledging allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No, it's not your imagination. It is Lori Vidal here for today's prayer.
Hey, miss you guys. It's good to be back. Let's pray together. On this cold and sunny afternoon, we are all doing so well with good food and the satisfaction of knowing where our next meal will come from. Many of us have skill sets in our homes where the food can be prepared even more professionally than the best restaurants in our town. We are a blessed people. Today, we also want to join forces with one another to continually make us aware of those who do not have the satisfaction of knowing where the next meal will come from. Thank you for the bread of the Mighty Foodbank and the impact it continues to make, curtailing the great need to some degree for all in our community to have a good meal. I pray to the one who calls himself the bread of life to answer our prayers today, to bless the continued work of the bread of the mighty in our community. And we express our thanksgiving for their amazing work. I pray in the name of the bread of life. Amen.
All right. If you're a guest, please stay standing, and Mr. Tom Clinton will walk the microphone.
Yes, we can start with you.
So, to segue seamlessly from one mic to the other, this is a good friend that I've met over the last couple months, Alex Erickson. Excuse me, Alex. He's a UF freshman who does a lot of work in the pro bono legal world. That's how we met, and he's happy to be here, right?
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. I'm Rebecca Nagy. My guest is my neighbor, Judith Hurley, who's with us for the second time. She's moved here recently full-time from Miami after living here part-time for a while, and she's a retired oncologist.
Welcome. Hi, I'm Parker Lawrence, and my guest today is Steve Kaufman. It's Steve's second visit. He graduated from the University of Florida. We were fraternity brothers, so that was a few years ago. He left with an MBA and went to work for Union Carbide in New York for 30 years, and then he's been retired for a couple of years since then.
else.
All right.
Welcome to all.
Yeah, Guy, if you'd please come up and give us a reminder about the Wild Game Feast.
Thank you. Stop. Weekly reminder, we got the Wild Game Feast coming up March 5th. Just over a month, we have been out at Hatchet Creek every weekend. We're going back out on Saturday to do some work out there. Hopefully, we're not going to get snowed on. But March 5th, tickets are on sale now. We're selling them back there. We've also got the raffle tickets going. Tickets are $85 each, or 6 for $425. And the raffle tickets are $25 each for $100. We know how the program goes out there. It's going to be a great time. I will say that my wife, who is the art teacher at Talbot, and my mom, who is a retired advertising agent, designed the T-shirts for this year. So they're going to be extra special. So come out and at least get a T-shirt with us. Thanks.
Now I'd like to introduce our fearless president, John Thomas. John.
Hey, how's everybody doing this afternoon? It's good to be back with you here at the Tuesday meeting of our Rotary Club. If Scott Winsler or any member of the committee from the Ethics and Business Board is here, please stand up. Big round of applause for these guys. It was a great program. It's a lot of hard work. Thank you guys for doing that. I've got a very special presentation, and it's a big shout out and thanks to the Grateful Rotarians and all of you. Patrick, if you want to join me up here. We have a simulated check for $11,393, which we have raised for the Bread of the Mighty. Great. Well, so we have a very special speaker today, and he really doesn't need an introduction. Patrick Dodds is a member of our club, a recovering attorney. We all know him for his work with the homeless, as now his work with the Bread of the Mighty, and we're super proud to have him as a member of our club. Thank you, Patrick. Y'all come on up. Yeah, good to go.
Thank you, John. Check presentation into a presentation. I mean, you can't plan that out better. Hey, everybody. Good to see you all. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Patrick Dodds. I have the privilege of leading the team at Bread of the Mighty Foodbank. I've been there for about 2.5 years, and it is an absolutely remarkable place. And I think Lori alluded to this at the beginning. I think sometimes we take for granted the privilege of being able to sit down and have a good meal. And in our community and across the country, across the world, there are thousands of people who have to struggle every day to find food, and they don't know where the next meal is going to come from. So I'm very honored that I get to be in this position, and today I'm going to present a little to you all, and I'm going to fly through the who, what, when, and where, because I want to get to what I think is the most important part, and that's the why. But we'll talk about Bread of the Mighty Foodbank. So it's the largest hunger relief organization in North Central Florida. We've been serving the community since 1987, so we're going into our 39th year, which coincidentally is how old I tell people I am if I know that they can't fact check me. And we serve a service area of about 4 counties, or it is 4 counties. It's a service area of about 3,000 square miles that we cover, with a population over 400,000 people that live in this area in North Central. We operate out of a facility just north of downtown, across from Cypress and Grove Brewery. It's about a 25,000 square foot facility that we operate out of, with a meager staff of 16. We're able to have the impact that we're able to have fighting food insecurity every single day. I like to share our mission statement because I think it really encapsulates the breadth of the work that we do. Our mission statement is that we use food as a catalyst to strengthen communities. And what that means, we'll get to it in a minute, the volume that we do, but it's more than just food, because the people that we're helping they're not just hungry, right? They're hungry because people are not just food insecure. They're food insecure and you can fill in the blank. They're food insecure and they're housing insecure. They're food insecure and they lack basic access to medical care, educational opportunities, job training. They're underemployed. There's any number of reasons that they're in line for emergency food assistance. But it's not just the food that they need. They need something more than that. And so we have to do more than that. The food bank. Because the thing about when you need help is most people don't seek the assistance that they need. We're all guilty of that. You know, I joke often when the check engine light comes on in my car, I'm terrified to take it to the mechanic because I don't know what it's going to cost me. I don't know if I have enough time to be without my car. The same's true for people who are dealing with real issues. Like, are they going to be able to pay their rent? Are they going to be able to buy their kids a new pair of shoes, right? They're scared to get the help that they need. They don't have time to do it. They don't know where to do it. They're too proud to do it. But food, they have to find. Food is the one thing you have to seek out. When you are hungry, you can think of nothing other than the fact that you're hungry, right? When you're hungry, you can't focus on the things that you need to do. You can't focus on your studies. You can't focus on your work. You can't be a good friend or parent or partner, right? It's one of those things. We've created a word for when you're too hungry and cranky to deal with other humans, right? When you're too hungry, you're hangry, right? Right? You can't do the things you need to do. You can't reach the potential that you have if you don't have a full belly, okay? And so our goal is to make sure that we're feeding people, but we're also understanding what else is happening in their lives that they need help with, and how can the food bank connect them? Because people will find the food. It's the one resource that people will seek out. Now, the volume to which we do this, it bowls me over sometimes. As you can see up in the top right, last year, it's actually our 2024 numbers, but we were very in line last year. We gave out over 6.2 million pounds of free food. 6.2 million pounds of free food went out to the community. That means on a day like today, over 30,000 pounds of food will leave our facility and be given out to neighbors free of charge, with no questions asked, no eligibility requirements or qualifications, no judgments, right? You show up for food, you're gonna walk away with food. You don't need to bring your pay stub or your driver's license. You don't need to be a resident of the county or the state or the United States or planet Earth for that matter. If aliens landed here tomorrow and they were hungry, we would feed them. Thank you for laughing at that joke. But it's critical, especially in the day and age that we live today, that we do not create any barriers. God forbid somebody doesn't come and find food because they're scared, right? They're scared that something might happen to them. They're scared that they might be turned away. There's no barrier to getting food with the food bank. I don't care where you come from or what you do or how much money you make or what God you pray to. None of that matters, because food's universal. It's actually one of the only things that unify every human being on planet Earth. Every human being has to eat every day. There's a reason why when you travel abroad and you want to connect with other cultures, we break bread. We sit down and we eat. It's the power of food. Food is an incredibly powerful thing. And no person should go without the opportunity to experience that uniquely human thing of filling their belly, right? Of sitting down at the dinner table after the end of a long day. You know, I have 3 boys. I have 2 teenage boys and I have a second grader. And they speak a proto-language that I can't understand. They're skibbity 6-7s all day long, and I'd never know what they're saying, but it doesn't matter, because at the end of a day, I want nothing more than to sit down at the table with them and share a meal and hear how their day went. Every one of our neighbors should have that opportunity, whether they're doing that alone or with their siblings, their family, their friends. Everybody should have the option to do that. It is a uniquely human experience. Now, the way that we operate is what we call a hub and spoke model. So our facility is the hub. It's the distribution center. And we work with, as of yesterday, 152 partners in the community who help us to distribute the food. 152 nonprofit social service organizations, churches, volunteer-run organizations who either pick the food up at our facility or have it delivered to them, and they will then hand it out to the neighbors. That allows us to be in every corner of the 3,000 square miles that we serve. It also allows us to have an incredibly in-depth connection with the neighbors that they serve, because every neighborhood is different, right? The needs of somebody in East Gainesville are different from the people who live in Cedar Key. The people who live in Lake Butler don't have the same needs as the people who live in Micanopy, right? They have different wants, they have different needs, they have different availabilities and experiences. So allowing us to connect on a deeper level through that partnership is such an unbelievable opportunity to help rise up what is happening and elevate the voices of those community members, right? So if something's happening in an area in Levy County that we couldn't possibly know about, our partners know about it. And they can come to us and they say, hey, they need food, but you know what else they need? They need access to medical care. And so the food bank can then leverage its standing in the community, a standing that's built on 39 years of building trust and connections and showing up where we say we're going to show up, to take that to local elected officials and say, here's what this community says they need. And they'll listen, right? Because it's not a couple of people in a neighborhood, it's the food bank, right? So having these partnerships, it's a deeper level than just food. It's more than just food. It's allowing us to strengthen communities through those connections. I think the other important thing to note here, it might be a little hard to see, but there's a little bar chart down on the bottom here. And what it says is that 33% of the 6.2 million pounds was produce. 23% was meat and protein. That's 56%. Over half of that, over 3 million pounds of the food we give out was meat and produce. Meat and produce are the first two things to fall off a shopping list if you don't have enough money for all the items that you need. If you're a single parent with 3 picky eaters, I kind of like that. Can we get that back? It gives me a little cachet, yeah. If you have only enough to buy what you know your kids will eat, not what you want them to eat, guess what? You're just gonna buy, if I only had enough to buy what I knew my boys would eat, it would just be Doritos, Oreos, and Cocoa Puffs. Because God forbid a parent ever has to calm a hungry child who can't fall asleep because their head hurts or their stomach hurts because they didn't eat enough food, right? No parent wants to face that. They will buy them whatever they will eat, and they will sacrifice the pork chops and the Brussels sprouts. So we're really proud of the fact that we can provide the pork chops and the Brussels sprouts and the ground beef and the chicken and the steak and the hamburger and the squash and any number of things that will fall off the grocery store list because they don't have enough money to access it, or they don't have a grocery store in their community that will provide it. You can see we had over 7,700 volunteer hours donated in 2024. We doubled that number last year. We had over 14,000 volunteer hours graciously donated by over 5,000 volunteers coming through our doors. This is one of the truly remarkable things about the food bank, because it is staffed by people who live in this community. And there's no way our team of 16 could go through 30,000 pounds of food a day without volunteers, right? So volunteers graciously donate their time, and then people like you all who live here, who generously donate financially. Over 65% of our operating budget comes from charitable donations. More than half, 2/3. This is an organization that is run by the community, for the community, and supported by community members. I like to always say when someone comes through one of our food lines and they get home and they open that bag of groceries, that bag is filled with food and community. It's the community telling every member that we stand behind you, that you are not forgotten, that even in your hardest times, we will support you and make sure that you are fed. And I think that's a truly remarkable thing about the food bank. All right, where do we get the food from? So here's a quick lesson. We've got a team of 5 drivers, 5 refrigerated trucks. They show up to the food bank at 7 a.m. every morning. They look at their routes. They load their truck. They take it out to a community partner. And we use an AI-supported truck routing system that tells them the best route on the way back to stop at the grocery stores. Every major grocery store in our service area, every Publix, Winn-Dixie, Target, Aldi's, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, bakeries, distribution centers donate product to the food bank. They bring that full truck back, they unload it, it's inventoried, sorted, inspected, repackaged, and redistributed in under 72 hours. They take a lunch and they do it again. Twice a day, our trucks leave full and come back full, right? So anybody seen a Bread of the Mighty truck on the road? I guarantee you it's full of food, either coming back to our facility or going out to the community where it's gonna feed our neighbors. Stores donate for any number of reasons. Product might be getting close to its best by date. It might be seasonal product. We're coming up on Valentine's Day, which means we're gonna have those little chalk flavored hearts that say I love you coming out of our ears in about 3 weeks, right? It might be product that's not selling. Its packaging might have been slightly damaged, but the inner package is still sealed, it's still good. They're just not gonna put it back on their shelves. There's any number of reasons. One of the only things in the IRS tax code that I can support is a code that says the grocery stores get to double the deduction for the value of any product they donate. They get a 2 times deduction, which means they're incentivized to put product aside for us because it's not selling very well. They order a little too much of it. And so it can be good product that's just not selling. It's about 70% of the food we get comes from those grocery stores before it goes back out to the community. I was giving a tour earlier today and I walked by our meat freezer and we had just gotten a delivery in from Publix. And I lifted up and I said, this is an example of something we might get. And it was organic chicken thighs. Its best by date was 2 days from now. That's the kind of stuff we're getting in. It's the stuff you and I would buy at the grocery store, right? We're giving that back out to the community. It's healthy, nutritious, it's good food. We rescued almost 5 million pounds of food from the grocery stores. About 4.7 of that was able to be redistributed to the community. Some of the stuff we get, like produce, it's already bad by the time it comes into our facility. One of the cool things is that we believe strongly in food waste diversion and not sending that waste to the landfill. So we're able to actually take about half of the waste that we get and set it aside for hog farmers who come and pick it up weekly to feed their hogs. We also donate to the Big Cat Rescue to make sure that we continue to divert that food from the landfill and help to support local hog farmers, local nonprofits, and that's something we're really proud of. The other 30% of the food we get, we purchase in partnership with Feeding Florida and a program supported by the state legislator called Farmers Feeding Florida, where we're able to buy surplus crops and proteins and dairy from Florida farmers. We get about $250,000 from the state of Florida that we get to purchase what we want, when we want from Florida farms. I'm really proud of the fact that we do that as well. I am the actual first generation in my family to not be a farmer. My father grew up on a small farm in Kansas. His father was a farmer. His father was a farmer. We owned a family farm in Southeast Kansas for 125 years. I went to law school at the University of Kansas to study agricultural law because I thought for a minute I could be a farmer. And then I realized that I grew up in Miami and I'm better suited in air conditioning and warm weather. And so I didn't end up following that path, but I love the fact that I understand what it's like to do that kind of work. Family farms, local farms, they're not getting rich. They're not doing it because it's big business. They're doing it because it's in their blood. They're doing it because they believe strongly in being connected to the land and understanding where your food comes from. And agriculture is the second largest economic driver in the state of Florida after tourism. Tourism's on the rise, agriculture's on the decline. There are 5 dairy farms that contribute to our state dairy cooperative. We actually, in the state of Florida, do not generate enough milk to meet the state's demand for milk. We actually have to import it from other states. But of those 5 dairy farms, one of them is in South Florida. It's over 5,000 acres. We've got over 2,500 head of cattle, and it's for sale. Who do you think is going to buy 5,000 acres in South Florida right now? Not another dairy farmer. And once you pave that land and build houses, it will never be farmland again. And we're too disconnected from where our food comes from. So we get to support local agriculture. We get to buy from local farmers. We buy our beef from Quincy Cattle. I'll talk more about them in a second. We get produce from Palatka. We get our dairy from Lecanto. Most of the products that we purchase come from within 150 miles of the food bank. I want to talk about Quincy Cattle because I love the Quincy's. Don and Donna Quincy run Quincy Cattle Farm in Chiefland, Florida. Does anybody here know Don and Donna? Anybody who knows Don and Donna knows what I'm talking about. Don is, I believe, 6th or 7th generation Levy County, okay? That is a man that is embedded in that community. And about 2 years ago, we connected with them and we started buying ground beef and sausage from Quincy Cattle in Chiefland. And we spend over $100,000 a year buying from them. And we do a giveaway the 3rd Friday of every month at Chiefland United Methodist Church in downtown Chiefland. And Don and Donna will come out and join us at the giveaway, and they will hand their beef that was raised less than 3 miles from that church out to their community. The first time I did that, I walked the line, hundreds of people that were waiting there that day, and I said, hey, today's kind of special. We're gonna be giving out Quincy beef, and Donna Quincy are here. And I heard, I love Don and Donna. I go to church with Don and Donna. Our kids went to school together. It was neighbors feeding neighbors. It was people who couldn't otherwise access this incredibly fresh, healthy beef that's raised in their community. They're getting it for the first time, teamed with fresh produce. And it is something magical when you can make that connection and build something hopeful out of what normally feels hopeless. So I absolutely love Don and Donna. They work and advocate on us. They were actually in Tallahassee with us last week to help advocate for some changes. How do we serve? People can get food from us in 2 ways. One way is called a stable pantry. This is something, it's a brick and mortar building that's open throughout the week, certain hours for people to access. Catholic Charities, Salvation Army, community members can come to them. Think of it like a free grocery store. Well, they will walk away with a bag of groceries. We've got about 70 plus stable pantries that we work with. The other way is a mobile pantry. This is a large scale food giveaway. Okay, about 95% of the large-scale food giveaways that happen in our community happen in conjunction with the Bread of the Mighty. So, I mean, how many of you have seen a large-scale food giveaway or a long line of cars outside of a church or a nonprofit? We do about 15 a week. We did over 650 of them last year alone. Every one of those mobile pantries is at minimum a pallet of meat, a pallet of produce, a pallet of bread, a pallet of canned goods, a pallet of beverages. Somewhere between 7,000 to 10,000 pounds of food that we will serve to hundreds of people, meaning every person that goes through that line is going home with 30 to 40 pounds of groceries. 30 to 40 pounds of groceries is an entire shopping cart filled with groceries, of meat, of vegetables, of canned goods, of cereal, and the team works tirelessly to make sure that we're not sending them things that cannot go together. We will never send peanut butter without the jelly. I promise you that, okay? And then right now we have 14 active school pantries in the 4 counties that we serve. One that's great, we just opened recently. You may have seen, there's a couple of recent news stories about it. The most recent we opened was at Buchholz High School. And it is the first of its kind in our community. It is a student-run school pantry. Members of the Entrepreneurship Academy, the DECA Club there at Buchholz High School, are running this school pantry. These are students, these are teenagers who found the value in serving their friends and their families, and they are running the pantry. We stock them monthly with dry goods and occasionally with meats and produce as well. And the great thing about school pantries is it meets families where they're at. So many families struggle to be able to access the services we have because they work, they don't have time, but their kids are already there. So we try and connect and meet people where they're at. We're in, 13, I think we're in 13 schools right now. Just for a sense of the scale of this, there are 67 schools in Alachua County alone. Another 15 in the 3 counties outlying. So we're in 13 of about 85 in our service area. It's an area of growth for us for sure. We also understand that it's important that we don't just get people food without teaching them the importance of food and the value in food, right? Now, I will tell you, and my staff all believe in this strongly, we should never tell anybody what they should or should not eat. I do not want to tell anyone you shouldn't eat that, right? Everybody who comes to us for assistance should have the same dignity and autonomy that you and I would have if we went to the grocery store. They should be able to choose the food they eat, when they eat it, and how they eat it. But there are so many folks who never learn the value of a nutritious diet, the impacts that certain foods can have on you long term. They were never taught to cook certain foods. So we have nutrition educators that we can deploy out to some of our partners. We had one a couple weeks ago where they taught people how to cook and carve a whole chicken and turn it into several meals. A whole chicken at Publix costs you about $9. You can turn that into 3 meals, you can stretch your dollar. and you can eat healthier. Now we have what we call healthy pantries. These are pantries where we actually purchase the food that stocks the shelves. And so it is all healthy items. It is fresh produce, it is whole wheat pasta, brown rice, low sodium, everything. And we work directly with these pantries who work with cohorts of neighbors, and we track their healthcare outcomes. We get baselines at the beginning of the program. We provide them with tailored meals and groceries throughout the program, and we track the benefits that a healthy diet can have on individuals. Because food can be medicine. A healthy diet can improve your health outcomes, right? And so our hope is we will collect this data and be able to take it to the legislators and say, hey, you're subsidizing pharmaceutical companies to this extent. Well, we can show you better impacts and feed people, right? So that they don't have to rely on a handful of pills. They can just rely on their healthy diet. And the hope is that we can shift that focus and show that food can be medicine when used appropriately and team together with nutrition education. Our advocacy efforts, we worked with the county on the Fresh Food Pathways program, which is going to lead to what we hopefully will see, a hub for local farmers to aggregate their products together and be able to sell those products to larger institutional buyers. If you think about a small family farm, they've got 15, 20 acres maybe, they're not generating enough crop to be able to sell to a University of Florida or an Alachua County or the school board. But if they bring their crops together and aggregate them at a centralized location, then they can do that. So we work together with the community, because if you're a community member and the county says, we want to hear from you, a lot of people are going to roll their eyes, right? But when the food bank says, hey, we want to bring people together and help to form a community response to this, then you get hundreds of people in the food bank multiple times where we can bring them together, find similar common themes, and present that information. And what we presented to the county turned out to be the application and the request that the county put out for the food hub. And then this one's great. We just started working with the Black Church Food Security Network about 1.5 years ago. That's Reverend Dr. Hebert Brown III from Baltimore. He is a pastor of a small church where a large amount of his congregation struggle with food insecurity, live in a food desert where there is not a grocery store that sell the products that they want. What he realized was his church was sitting on almost an acre of land. So he transformed the grounds that his church was located on into farmland. And he said, I'm going to take this show on the road. So now they go across the country providing seed funding, literally and figuratively, to Black churches that often sit on huge swaths of land, who have a dedicated pool of volunteers and vehicles. And they turn that land into usable farmland to feed their community. A wonderful thing. Okay. How much time do I have? You good? Great. The why. This is the most important thing. Let me see. I don't know why those got all jumbled together. So it should say no room for surprise. This is a mom that I met at one of our mobile pantries. She was volunteering and we struck up a conversation. And as we started talking, I realized I wanted to know her story deeper. A lot of what I do is storytelling, as you can imagine. And so I collected this young lady's story. She's a mom. She's an LPN. She does everything right. Her kids are all doing well in school, right? She works long hours, but she makes sure the kids are taken care of. She told me that she found the food bank the first time because she had a second grader, third grader, younger kid, came home from school one day and he wasn't wearing his shoes. She said, what happened to your shoes? And he said, they broke. And because he's an 8-year-old boy and he has no concept of money or anything else, he threw his shoes away, right? Because he figured the shoe fairy would just show up and give him another pair of shoes. But at 6 p.m. on a school night, what was she going to do? She hadn't budgeted for a new pair of shoes. She wasn't ready to have to leave the house and go pick up a new pair of shoes for her kid so he could have them for school tomorrow. That story struck me. That she could be so close to the edge that a broken pair of shoes could decimate her budget for the month, right? How many people are living that close to the edge in our community that something so trivial as a pair of shoes for a second grader could cause that much of an impact? So she found us, she got food from us, and then she started volunteering afterwards because she felt like, now that I'm stable, I want to make sure that I'm there to help folks who aren't. Boys need their mamas. This is another one. This was my son's first grade teacher. She and I locked eyes at a giveaway. And after she got her food, she pulled over and she came and she said hello, and we started talking. She's a great teacher, wonderful woman. Her son got sick, and the doctors didn't know what was happening, and he kept having to go into the hospital because they couldn't figure it out, and he was getting sicker and he was getting sicker, and she kept having to take time off until she had used up all her PTO, but she couldn't leave her son's side, right? Because he needed his mom, and he didn't know what was wrong. And the paycheck stopped coming. She had other kids that she had to feed, and she didn't know what she was going to do. And so she found us, and she told me something that has always stuck with me. She said she remembers when they dropped the box of groceries into her trunk, the sound of it, the weight of it, she felt like a light switch flip. She felt like she could do it again, right? She was at her end. She was at her wit's end. She didn't know what was going on with her kid. They couldn't figure it out. He was sick. She was out of money. But she could be a mom again. She could feed her kids, right? And that's the power of what we can do. Because sometimes it's not just food, right? It's that sense of relief that food can give you. It has that kind of impact. And then the last one, which is serendipitous that we're talking about it now, because this is a food giveaway that happens in Archer. It's happening right now. It's the second and fourth Tuesday of every month out in the city of Archer, which is a small little community out in western Alachua County that is served only by a little Save-A-Lot that doesn't have enough for everybody out there. And about 3 years ago, staff from the Public Works took it upon themselves to pool together their money and their time, and they would drive 2 trucks in with trailers to the food bank, pick up the 6 pallets, drive it back, and they would hold a food distribution for the residents of Archer. Most of these guys who ran it didn't even live in Archer. They lived elsewhere. They just worked for the city and they saw the need. And they ran it until somebody in the community kept complaining that city dollars were being spent on food that was going to the staff or any number of things, to the point where the city manager and the mayor said, you got to stop. You can't do it anymore. So they came to me. And I said, all right, your 2 problems are city staff's doing it and city dollars, which we knew weren't going towards it, but that's the perception. Great. I went to Cox and I said, how much would you give me to put together a food distribution in Archer? And they gave us $5,000. So I went to the city commission armed with $5,000 from Cox, and I said, we're going to fund it through this grant. Cox is going to do a big press release and draw attention. Maybe we'll get some more donors, and our staff will run the distribution from here on out. And the city said, you know what? No, we'll continue to let the Public Works guys do it. Cox can fund it. We want this to happen, and we trust that people will understand it now. Well, you flash forward about 1.5 years, the city comes under fire for not paying their taxes. The city manager resigns, the mayor resigns, a new commission comes aboard, they're under a microscope, they cancel it again. This time, the people who had gone through the line, who had become volunteers, just like the young lady whose son's shoe broke, they took it on. They pooled their money together and they started to run it. And they ran it for 8 months before they came to us and they said, we can't do it anymore. We don't have the money. We don't have the time. It's a lot. And so our team worked tirelessly until we found a partner out there, the Archer Church of Nazarene, who just last month started their first giveaways. Over 3 years, this giveaway has faced every barrier imaginable. It shouldn't exist. But everybody in the community saw the value of how important it was. And when one party slipped up, there was somebody there to catch it. And that's the food bank. That's the food bank in a nutshell. It's community understanding that they have to take care of each other. Food banks are not novel or new. We're not doing something that no one else has done. The idea of food banking is to find people who need a resource and identify an excess of that resource and bridge the gap. That's what we do. We bridge that gap. And that has happened for eons. That happens where there is technology, It happens when people are helping each other in a neighborhood, right? This is truly when people step up because no one else or can or will do that. That's what the food bank does. We make sure that everybody is taken care of and nobody goes through this alone. Well, very quickly, how can we give? I do like to talk about the financial side of things because every dollar that is donated to the food bank We turn that into 6 meals. We calculate a meal is about 1.2 pounds. That calculation comes from Feeding America. So every dollar that gets donated, we turn that into about 7.2 pounds of food. Think about that impact. That means what this Rotary Club gave will turn into over 65,000 meals, because you're supporting the work that we do every single day. You're supporting the general operations. You're helping gas our trucks, pay our staff, keep our lights on, buy our food. Every dollar turns into 6 meals for the community. And as of 2024, 96 cents of every dollar goes straight back into feeding the community. It's an incredibly efficient operation that we run at the food bank. Another way to give is through food drives, right? Virtual food drives where you can give money to raise funds, or actual food drives. Last year, we did 245 food drives. 245 different communities and businesses and people who get together to raise enough awareness and food to feed their neighbors. And then volunteer times. We have volunteer shifts twice a day, Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 and 1 to 3 p.m. And then the second Saturday of every month from 10 to 12, which is Family Day. You can come in and help us to pack, sort, and go out to one of our distributions and hand food out. I've worked in nonprofits for a decade plus now, and I can tell you, handing food out to people is one of the most impactful things that you can experience. Seeing that relief, feeling that gratitude, connecting on a personal level with your neighbors is an unbelievable opportunity. That's it. Questions? Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone with a question? Of course, all the way in the back.
Then there'll be one up front.
Yes.
Patrick, you must have done this before, right? Man, I tell you what, you almost made me cry. Almost, man. Well, he stopped me. My dentist is right here. He's going to make me cry tomorrow. But the story about Archer is awesome, but I through my work with foster care, I had a lady that lived in Bronson, the children's table, and I'm sure they get food from you guys, so I know you guys have done a great job. And one thing I would make reference to, and I know people are going to say, how the hell is a Pizza Hut guy know this, but all the chicken places, KFC for certain, have to discard their chicken after it has a shelf life. And through Second Harvest, when I was in California, Pizza Hut gave a lot of, we started that program, believe it or not, in the People's Republic of California, and we really got the KFC people lined up because they have a special way of throwing away their chicken so they don't give it to the employees. And hell, you buy some KFC chicken, you can eat it 5 or 15 days later if you put it in your refrigerator. So if you're not getting chicken from the chicken places, that would be another point of opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. It's a great point. And actually, because of we have to follow very strict food safety guidelines at the food bank, we actually can't take prepared foods. But we do have a program called the Agency Direct Retail Pickup, formerly known as Gainesville Harvest. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Gainesville Harvest, where we coordinate on behalf of the 150 partners we have our partners who will go to there and pick that up and take it back. So Peaceful Paths might go to Domino's on a Saturday and pick up the pies that didn't get picked up and take it back to their shelter. Grace Marketplace, we coordinate a lot of work between the University of Florida and the O'Connell Center. Shout out to Linda, because you guys do a lot of events with a lot of prepared meals, and we will help coordinate and pick up and deliver straight to those partners.
Y'all know me. Patrick, you brought tears to my eyes. But this club brought tears to my eyes when he came out with the 65,000 meals. And I know we stood there and twisted arms and did a lot. And it's hard for me to do that, but I don't have to do it because you all step up. And it makes me so proud to be a member. Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks, Helen.
I'd like to think that if there aren't a lot of questions, it means I covered everything. We all, yeah.
Patrick, thank you for your passion and for all the work that you do. I really appreciate you being a member of the club. Next week, we have our ROTC program. It's a fantastic program. It's a great opportunity to bring a guest and celebrate our veterans out there. The quote of the week: few things have more impact than nutrition on a child's ability to survive, learn effectively, and escape a life of poverty. In Vernon. And if I could have everybody stand for the four-way test. Is it the truth? Oh, all right, let's start that over again. Come on, guys. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and friendship? Will it be beneficial? Man, we got to practice that, guys. Jeez. Yeah, well, we're a little slow on the catch on that. And the winning safari ticket is 696, and we are adjourned.
All right. Oh, on this one, we just clarify. Board meeting, I like this. Annual meeting, 28. The board meeting is 26, so stuff that you're gonna do for the next list of people, you just wait till March. Through March, and through March, meeting will be the same.
Right.
Okay. And after that, we can get together and go.
I'll do it through March and then I'll put a big note. Yeah, okay.
Okay.
There's a lucky penny on the floor.
Oh, yeah, they don't make them anymore.
That's true. I find sometimes that they will either just give no change at all for the penny part, or they'll give me a nickel instead of a penny back. So it's got to be hard on them because.
Well, they haven't got it figured out, but there's a legislative bill in the Florida Congress. And I think it should be a national rule on rounding up or rounding
Right,
down.
yeah, that's right.
But there is no rounding for electronic payments.
Oh,
Electronic payments, you can still do pennies,
right,
real pennies.
because it's just paper, right?
It's just paper.
Yeah.
And, but the question is, what are people gonna do with all the pennies? Do you know that it used to be, you could roll your pennies out and take them in?
I do that.
You still do that?
No, I
But,
did that when
yeah.
I worked at the school and people would come in and pay